Welcome to the recap show on the Baseball Awakening podcast with Geoff Rottmayer. Today we will discuss the lessons learned and the action items from yesterday's interview.
Hey guys, Geoff Rottmayer here with the Baseball Awakening recap show. I'm still battling this cold or this allergy or whatever I've got. That's why I still sound funny. But anyways, this is the recap show where I share with you the biggest takeaways I got from my conversation with Matt Walbeck, as well as how I plan to implement what I've learned with my players that train with me in my academy in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And again, as I always say, we want to hear from you because different things mean different things to different people. So it'd be interesting to see how you guys interpreted something that Matt said or something that I'm going to say here today. And I'm going to make a show where I read your email because we can all learn something from it. So my email is going to be Geoff, Geoff, @baseballawakening.com. So send me your thoughts, your comments, or your feedback. Matt Walbeck, great guy. The thing that I got from this conversation as I hung up the phone with him was, here's the guy who was truly grateful for the opportunity to have played professional baseball. And then here's the guy who has shared, this conversation is full of nuggets after nuggets, knowledge bombs. So I'm really grateful that he shared as much as he did. And I want to try and get into some of this here on this recap show. So he started off talking about his youth days and the advice that his dad gave him. And it's brilliant stuff. Whether his dad knew what he was doing or not, it's still brilliant stuff. So I love when Matt went to his dad and said, "Hey, I want to be a baseball player, a professional baseball player." Not only did his dad encourage it, because most parents do that. You're going to encourage your kids to fulfill their dreams. But he made him realize that he was going to have to work hard for it. And he took an approach that I've never really heard before, but I think it's brilliant. He took an approach to make sure that he was ready to play before he let him play, which means that they practice. He wanted him to have the basic fundamentals, fundamentals like, how to catch the ball, how to hold the bat, how to swing it, how to throw from point A to point B. We all see the team, these kids who are playing out, and these volunteer coaches, no disrespect to them, but they're trying to get 9 kids to be able to do the most basic stuff. So his dad took an approach to make sure that he was able to do the most basic stuff before he started playing. And then, of course, I think, that kept it fun because of his approach of, when, for an example, like when he was trying to teach him how to hit, he would tell him, "Hey, if you hit it past this, you get this amount of points. If you hit it over me, you get X amount of points. If you hit that tree, you get X amount of points." So basically, he was basically rewarding him for hitting the ball hard somewhere. The higher, the harder and the farther he hit the ball, the higher the higher his score was. So, and then they would have ghost runners, and this would kind of build up that visualization process. And what I love the most, especially when you're young, 5, 6, 7, there's no mechanical talk. The younger kids, you just need to let them have fun. Tell them to hit the ball hard and not get so wrapped up into the mechanics. So it's just a brilliant approach that his dad took, and I think it was, I think it's brilliant, but he wanted to make sure that he was ready, so they practice. Interesting. And then later on in the conversation, he said something that I really like, and I think that a lot of kids need to hear, is he talked about when he was in high school that he played behind a guy. And this guy, in his, Matt perceived him to be better than him. Well, he brought a lot of attention. The coaches and the scouts came and watched this guy play. And Matt just happened to be there. And he said, I was able to grab their attention by hustling, being on time, making the routine plays, being a good teammate, stuff like that. And when they saw that, now they were able to kind of see that he was a pretty decent catcher and that he can hit. This is huge. I mean, these are the things that we try to tell kids, that these little things matter. The little thing, just like I said, the hustling on and off the field, the being on time, respecting the game, respecting your teammates and your coaches. This is going to grab that coach's attention. And once they have your attention, then they will look deeper into your skills. I love that he shared that with us because I think he's right. He's right on that. I've talked to coaches that, they will take the time when you see a kid that respects the game and plays the game the right way. They will take the time to at least assess him and see whether he fits into their criteria, what they're looking for. So it's great. I'm glad he shared that piece of wisdom right there. All right, and then later on he shared about something that I think most kids need to hear as well, because we see this all the time. He was talking about his first year of pro ball, and he had a pretty successful first year. And he said that he walked away thinking that the game was kind of easy. And he didn't work as hard that off season. And it ended up showing. He ended up hitting like 218, it was just a rough year all the way around for him. Again, I love that he shared that with us, because when you don't put in the work, or you think you're bigger than the game, then the game's going to have a way to humble you. And that's what happened to Matt. So he had that firsthand experience, and he had to have that mind shift change. Otherwise, he wasn't going to be able to play anymore, because they weren't going to have him around because he wasn't producing. So I think this is great, because you hear these stories about some of these kids who, they commit to a college, and then they're going to take a break during their senior year and just enjoy their senior year and expect to show up in campus doing well. Well, there's a lot of people that have the same stories that Matt did. And again, I'm grateful that he shared that information. And from there, he had he called that, look, he goes, I did not have a backup plan. There was no plan B. This was all I wanted to do. And I think this is important, especially when you love the game. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but he during this time, he had an injury that could potentially have cost him his career. And because he had no plan B, he used his rehab time and he taught himself how to switch hit. That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that the Cubs even supported it. They preach about how much baseball was mental, not physical. They told him that they did not care about the results, but just to go out there and do the best that he can. And at the end of the season, they would assess and see if it's worth pursuing. And as Matt said, this gave him so much confidence. And this is what we as coaches to young players need to do. We need to encourage kids to do what they want to do what they need to do, and then build them up so that they feel the confidence, that you have confidence in them to be able to go out there and just have fun and play hard and do what you do regardless of what the results show. Just focus on the process. Minor league baseball is all about development, but so is youth baseball. Later on, I asked him how he came to realize that he needed to lift and get stronger, because he said he was a smaller guy. And I asked that question because there's a lot of kids out there that are working extremely hard on their swing or their fundamentals, but they lack the strength. And it sounded like for Matt, he was very aware and understood that this is what he needed to do to be able to play this game at a higher level. Earlier I interviewed a guy named Butch Bacala, and he's a former national cross checker. And he said, look, he goes, I don't care about guys' size. I was more concerned about strength. So strength is a big deal, and young players need to fall in love with the weight room. Now, it's obviously better to have a program and to get with someone who knows what they're doing, but just get started. Dude, something is better than nothing. There are credible and reliable guys on the internet. I mean, you have to be careful who you're listening to. And if you want my input, just send me an email to Geoff, Geoff, at baseballawakening.com. And I can give you my input on guys based on the relationship I have and the understanding of what they teach, and guys that are doing it for the right reason. But to sum this part up, get into the weight room. Throw the weight around. Be crazy about it. Get strong. The earlier you gain this awareness, the better. But you need to get to a point where you have this awareness. And also understand that it's better late than never. So get crazy about the weight room. Later on, we're continuing this conversation. I'm having a blast because I'm learning so much. We get into the point where Matt's talking about visualization and working in front of the mirror. Man, this is a coach's dream, to have a player who's so dedicated that he would spend 20 minutes a night in front of the mirror just to work on his stride. And the only reason why he only worked on just his stride because his room was small. I have no doubt that he would have swung the bat in its entirety if he had a big enough room. He would. This is awesome, man. He would visualize himself in the big moment, in the big league stadiums. And the thing that Matt said that was important was it was constant. It was an obsession. Personally, I remember doing that. I remember visualizing from time to time, but I wasn't constant at it, as I could have been. I'm more obsessed now as a coach than I was a player. And I wasn't a bad player. And if I would have figured out a few more things, no telling what would have happened. But again, enough about me. There is a tremendous amount of value in visualizing, in picturing, in positive imagery. This isn't some gimmick. Visualization is important. Same with self-talk. Self-talk is tremendously important, but we can talk about that another time. But I love that Matt shared this with us. The visualization, the mirror work, putting time in your craft outside of what you do at your team practice. And again, like he said, the key is it's constant. If you really want to get better, you're constantly thinking about it. You're constantly visualizing. That's how I am with my business now. Again, I'm better at it now than I was as a player. So just get to that point. If baseball is really what you want to do and you really want to be a great player, then you got to visualize. You got to put some work outside of the work that you do with your team and your practice. Again, 20 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes a night makes a big difference. And I tell guys, a little, a lot, not a lot, a little. I got that from Brian Kane. So doing 10, 15 minutes every day, it's better than doing a whole hour on Sunday. And then from there, we finally get into, and I talked about this just a little bit earlier. We started talking about how there was no backup plan. Backup plans can distract you from the process, especially when things get hard. So I think he took the right approach in not having a backup plan, as long as it's fun for you. There comes a time where when the game isn't as fun, or the game is done with you, that's the day when you got to kind of tip your hat, and then you're now getting into what I'm doing is coaching and giving back to the game. I do this full time. I spend all day learning, and I talk to coaches, I talk to baseball people, which is part of the reason why I started the podcast. I wanted to record some of these great conversations and share them with you guys. But not having a backup plan is what kept Matt focused. And like he said, he had a career-threatening knee injury, and there was no plan B. So what did he do? He learned how to switch hit. That's crazy, and it's awesome. I tell guys all the time, know what you want to do and stick to it. There's going to be days where it's tough. There's going to be days where it feels like you're not making any progress. But you can make it through those days. You're going to be okay. If you cannot make it through those days, then it's not going to work out. I hate talking about myself, but when I accepted that there was no plan B, and that I really loved what I do, developing baseball players and learning baseball and talking to baseball people, when I started my academy, I survived a fire and 2 different floods. Man, talk about no plan B. I had no idea how I made it through that, but I had the desire, and I stuck to it, and I believed in it. So there was no plan B. So you have to stick it out. And, this conversation keeps going. And, man, I'm getting mind blown as this conversation keeps going. So then we started talking about confidence. And Matt's answer was great. He said confidence is practicing a lot and getting good at something. Then go play. Come back and work on what you need to work on at practice. And then go play. And before you know it, all of a sudden you're getting better. Man, this is brilliant. I tell guys this all the time. Put in the work, get better, be prepared, have faith, have trust in what you're working on. Get out of your way mentally, and you're going to have some confidence. Continue to self-talk the crap out of yourself. This self-talk stuff works. If you tell yourself you're tired, you're going to be tired. If you tell yourself you're in a slump, well, you're in a slump. And you can change the course of your day just by changing your thoughts and by changing what you're telling yourself. And you need to talk to yourself, not listen to the voices in your head. But again, I got away from what we were talking about, confidence. So back to confidence. Confidence is a choice. Work hard, practice, prepare, self-talk, believe in yourself, and you'll be surprised with your kind of outlook on your process. This conversation is still going, and I'm loving it, and I keep learning more. So here's the next part. I asked him about when he got there, if anybody ever tried to kind of change his swing. His swing got him to that level. Did they ever kind of make you change anything? Did they ever tell you that this swing wouldn't work at the big league level, or what that whole process was like? And I love what he said. And he said, as a coach, you have to be careful, because if a kid loses his feeling and loses what he's trying to do or what you're trying to do, then he's going to lose confidence. And then when you lose confidence, whether it's a player, it doesn't matter. If you lose confidence, everything goes against you. That's why he said that the best players in the world have a way of making them feel like they are the best players in the world, regardless of what's going on. And it's huge. I see it all the time. A kid spends all off season working on his swing, his throwing motion, only to have a coach, without even seeing his process or his results in games, tell a kid right away that this isn't going to work. And now the kid loses all confidence. And things are now worse. But if you had let him play and see what he'd been working, and kind of let him, display what he's been working on all off season, and give it time to see the results, it probably will show up. But as coaches, we have to give these kids time, and we have to build these kids' confidence up. We start saying that XYZ won't work. You have to change XYZ. That's just too much at once. I always try to tell guys, like at my academy, we always focus on one thing at a time, not the whole thing. We got to do one thing at a time, because a kid, we don't want to lose. You don't want to kill a kid's confidence. It's just not worth it. But at the end of the day, like Matt said, at the end of the day, the approach is just to keep it simple. Just see it and hit it, and know thyself. Awesome stuff, man. And then lastly, what I want to talk about, again, I can go on and on and on and on about this conversation, but the last thing I want to kind of share with you guys is I asked Matt about what advice he would have for someone who thinks they want to play professional baseball. And of course, he said, you got to work hard. You got to focus on the things that you can control. Find something that you're good at and get really good at that. That's something that I tell guys all the time. If speed is your strength, get really good at speed. If fielding is your strength, get really, really good at it. If hitting is your strength, get really, really good at it. So you get the point. Whatever you're good at, get really good at it. Okay? Spend some time knowing who you are as a player and what kind of player that you are. Understand what you can and cannot do. That's to know thyself. Hang around guys that you want to be like. Guys that work hard and work as hard as them, if not harder. And then he went on to say, study the game, read books, and all of this is brilliant. Again, like I said, I can't say enough about this conversation. If you haven't listened to it, I would highly encourage you to go back and do so. He shared a lot of things with us, and this is a guy that spent a lot of time at the big league level. So, I really enjoyed my conversation. I'm grateful that he shared all that he shared, and he killed it. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.